Okay, so you should be ready to check your Chapter 4 review. Please have a grading pen in your hand. If answers are incorrect, please mark them wrong, but also make corrections on your paper. So when you're finished, you have a complete set of correct answers. And when you're completely finished grading, you will put a number correct out of 30 on top of your review, and then you'll turn it in before you take your test. Let's take a look at questions 1 and 2. In these two questions, you're graphing using a table of values. So you're going to choose your values of x. Remember, we're going to choose small, easy values. You're plugging them in place of x in your equation, and then you're solving for y. After you find your 3 points, you're going to plot them on your line. So my first point is at -1, 1, then 0, 3. Then my third point is at 1, 5, and then we're going to connect those to make a line. For question number 2, when your coefficient of x is a fraction, remember we choose values of x that are multiples of the denominator, so that's why we chose -3, 0, and 3 here, because it's easy to multiply 1/3 by those numbers. So my 3 ordered pairs are -3, -8, 0, -7, and 3, -6. Okay, please remember if you plot your points and they don't make a straight line, that means you probably made a mistake somewhere in your table or you plotted the point wrong, so you need to go back and check. All right, moving on, our next section is determining the slope of a line. Remember, when calculating the slope from a line, we use 2 points. Slope is defined as rise over run. So I count my vertical change and then my horizontal change. So for example, in number 3, I'm going for line A, I'm going down 1 and over 5. So my slope is -1/5. Number 4, my slope is 1/4, up 1 over 4. A horizontal line has a slope of 0 in number 5. And in number 6, my slope is 2/5. Please remember, slope is always written as a fraction, not an ordered pair. Okay, next section. Here we're changing equations into slope-intercept forms. Remember, that means we're solving for y. So we're just using inverse operations like an equation. So in number 7, I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides. Remember, on the right-hand side, 4 is a variable term. Sorry, 4 is a constant, and -7x is a variable term, and those two things can't be combined. So final answer is y equals -7x plus 4. In number 8, y is being multiplied by 2, so you divide everything by 2. On the right-hand side, both terms get divided by 2. Final answer is y equals 2x minus 1. In number 9, remember our step is to find our y, which is right here. We add our x term to both sides. Remember, 2x and 15 can't be combined. And then our last step is to divide by the coefficient of y. So we're dividing everything by 3. Please note right here where you have 2x divided by 3. Remember, when you can't divide evenly, you write your answer as a fraction. So it's y equals 2/3 x plus 5. All right, so in this next section, remember we're finding slope and y-intercept for the graph. So in slope-intercept form, remember that's y equals mx plus b. So the slope is the number in front of x. So that's why it's 3, and the y-intercept is after your x. So don't forget to include the sign that precedes the number. So y-intercept is -6. In number 11, the slope is -3/4, and the y-intercept is 5. Okay, next section, we're going one step further. Now we're going to find the slope and y-intercept, and then we're going to use that to graph the line. So in number 12, again, the number before x is your slope. When there's nothing there, remember the y-intercept is 0. Remember, when you start plotting your points, you start at your y-intercept. Remember, B is like beginning, the beginning of my line. So I plot a point at 0, and then I count my slope to find other points. So up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, or down 1, back 2, down 1, back 2, and then connect those points and make a line. And number 13, using my slope and y-intercept, I start at positive 3 on the y-axis, and I go down 2 over 3, down 2 over 3, and then connect those points to make a line. And again, when you look at your line, think about what Slope Dude would say. And number 14, notice this one is not in slope-intercept form, so we just have to add 2x to both sides and solve for y. So y equals 2x plus 5. Plot a point at 5 on the y-axis. To count your slope, you go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, or from that same point, down 2, back 1, down 2, back 1, and then connect your points and make your line. Okay, and number 15 and 16, we're finding slope from, in this case, in number 15, 2 points. So remember, this is our slope formula, y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So you plug those values in. You can see how we labeled the points up here. So it's -7 minus 5. And then in your denominator, 7 minus 4. So you get -12 over 3, which is the same as -4. When plugging in your numbers, please be careful and remember to follow your integer rules. When finding slope from a table of values in number 16, remember it's just change in y over change in x. So we're looking at the difference between our 2 points. Just remember to put your denominator on top. Please note over here that we did simplify the signs. So a negative over a negative becomes a positive. So positive 2/3. Just clean up those signs. And number 17, this time we're going one step further and we're writing the equation of a line. So again, the first thing we're going to do is find the slope using our slope formula. So 4 minus 1 over 2 minus 0 means our slope is 3/2. And remember, our y-intercept comes from the point at which x is 0. So that's this point right here. So y equals 3/2 x plus 1. Okay, here you're just taking slope and y-intercept and plugging it into your formula, y equals mx plus b. So y equals 5/7 x minus 9. Okay, and number 19, you are finding and interpreting the slopes. Remember, slope is just rise over run. So just count up and over. Remember to pay close attention to the interval on your graph in case we're not counting by 1. So slope is 4/5, which means the kite raises 4 feet every 5 seconds. Remember, your labels come from up here in the prompt. The y-intercept is this point right here, 0, 4, which means the kite started at a height of 4 feet. So you take the slope and the y-intercept and you just put those into your equation in slope-intercept form. Y equals 4/5 x plus 4. And for question D, we're just using the line to evaluate the height of the kite after 5 seconds would be this point right here, is 8 feet. Number 20 is about proportional relationships. Remember, we said a proportional graph is one that passes through the origin. It's an equation in the form of y equals mx. So the second and the third graph are both proportional because those lines pass through the origin. Number 21, 22, and 23 are just matching up those graphs. So really the easiest point to look for is that y-intercept. So the line with a y-intercept of 5 is the graph of line C. You can also see that it has a negative slope. Line A matches up with number 22, has a y-intercept of -1, and B is number 23. Okay, so our next section is about x and y intercepts. Remember to find x and y intercepts using a graph. You're just looking for the point at which it crosses the x and y axis, and then try to remember to write those as ordered pairs. So the x-intercept is right here at 2, 0. The y-intercept is at 0, -2. Notice from a table of values, the x-intercept again is the point at which x is 0. So that would be, sorry, that's the point at which y is 0. So -8, 0. And the y-intercept is the point at which x is 0. So 0, -6. In the next section, we're finding x and y-intercepts. And remember, your clue right here is to plug 0 in place of y and solve for x. So that's what we did in the first case here. So our x-intercept is 2, or you could write that as 2, 0. And to find our y-intercept, we plug 0 in place of x and we solve for y. So y equals 8 or 0, 8. Same thing for number 27, just plug 0 in place of y to solve for x. So our x-intercept is 4 or 4, 0. And our y-intercept is -6 or 0, -6 as an ordered pair. Okay, in question number 28, so remember to read the prompt carefully. This time you have an equation that's been given. It says you're 12 miles away from home, so that's your total distance. You're going to bike home at a speed of 6 miles per hour. So that's your rate of change. And then they want you to graph this using x and y intercepts. So notice, again, same process, plug 0 in place of y to solve for x. So our x-intercept is 2. Plug 0 in place of x to solve for y. Our y-intercept is 12. And then remember to choose an appropriate interval for your graph. For this one, your x-axis should be labeled time, which is hours, and your y-axis should be labeled distance. Please add those labels if you did not have them. And then remember, you're going to plot your x and y-intercept. You're going to connect those to make your line. And then answer the questions below. So find and interpret the x-intercept. Remember to say something about both the x and y values. So it means the x-intercept means it takes 2 hours to travel 12 miles, and it takes 2 hours for you to get home. The y-intercept means that you are 12 miles away from home before you start biking. Okay, here's our last 2 questions are on point slope form. So remember, point slope form is this formula right here. Remember, you using the formula when you have 1 point and you know the slope. So using the given point, this is your x sub 1, y sub 1, and here's your slope. You're just plugging those values into your formula. So here's my y sub 1, here's my slope. Here's my x sub 1, and then remember the only thing you do is clean up those signs. So y plus 2 equals 2 times x minus 4, and just leave it in point slope form. Same thing over here. Plug your values in, and in number 30 you don't have any cleaning up to do, so it's just y minus 2 equals 1/3 x minus 2. Okay, that's it. Please make sure that you put a number correct at the top of your paper out of 30 and bring any questions that you have back to class with you tomorrow. And most importantly, please remember to study all of this stuff for your test. You also have your note packets and several foldables that we made together in class. So good luck.